Hello Highlanders, my name is Presley Nippert and I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Smale, who is a history and avid teacher here at Kelso High School, along with a baseball and basketball coach. I have a few questions to ask Mr. Smale to get to know him a little bit better here at Kelso High School. So starting with, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in a city called Palo Alto. It's about 30 minutes south of San Francisco, and it's the same city as Stanford University, so that was a lot of fun to grow up around. And it's really gotten known more recently for like being a pretty innovative technological town. Like there's a bunch of companies like Facebook and Google that have headquarters there, and yeah, it was a great place to grow up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what college did you end up attending?
Gonzaga Bulldogs, baby.
Zags.
Huge Zag fan. Went there for 4 years, got my history degree, got my teaching degree, and loved every moment of it. It was a fantastic school.
I love it. What brought you to Washington and what really drew you to attend Gonzaga?
Yeah, I wouldn't have been in Washington if it wasn't for going to school at Gonzaga. Mm-hmm. So that's what got me here, and I really fell in love with it because it had a great atmosphere to it when I went and visited the campus. It offered all of the academic interests that I had. And I think some of the cool things that I liked about it as well was that it offered a really great study abroad program. I wanted to make sure that I went and got some experiences outside of the country and did some traveling. And then of course the basketball thing was a bunch of fun too. That had always kind of stuck with me. I remember watching Adam Morrison, who's one of our more famous alumni, play as a kid and thinking it was one of the cooler stories of March Madness. And so I was excited to be a part of that as well.
Awesome. So was it through college that you realized you wanted to be a teacher?
I would say that's what confirmed it, but I went to Gonzaga knowing that I'd like to be a teacher. I've got a few family members who are teachers, and they had always spoken highly of the profession. I am also the oldest sibling in my family, so I always kind of had felt like I, had built a way to get along with younger people, and I also just always enjoyed working with youth. I'd been like a youth coach. I worked a couple of youth summer camps and always enjoyed that. So I probably knew I was a teacher when I was in high school. And I think a big part of that was our principal, or my high school principal, told me that I'd be a good teacher. And I remember that resonating really well with me too.
Awesome. Yeah. So what brought you to Kelso?
That's a good question. That's a good story. I had never heard of Kelso in my entire life. And I'll blame that because I'm from California, and I went to school in Spokane, so I didn't really know of the west side of the state very well. And every year they have a teaching conference in Spokane. And so I went to that and was just like walking aisle after aisle trying to find a history job. And I remember like spending all day at this conference and couldn't find like any schools that had history openings. And so I just randomly walked across the Kelso booth and I just asked, do you have a history job? And one of the people that was there that I remember was our superintendent, Mary Beth Tack, and the principal at the time. And they said, we don't think so, but there's something that might open up. And eventually things worked out, and I came here and accepted the job without ever seeing the school or without knowing a single person, and have been here ever since. It's been a great joy.
Well, we hope you like it here.
I sure do.
And how long have you been here?
This is my 7th year.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And what is your dream job outside of teaching?
Ooh. Man, I go back and forth on that one a lot. I think I would have loved to be involved in the sports world somehow. I think there's two that stand out. The first would be like a sports broadcaster, like just go travel, the country and announce sports games and interview athletes. I think the other thing might have been like a college athletics trainer, wrap some ankles and throw some slings on kids. That would have been kind of fun maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably either one of those.
That's cool. I'm actually interested in both of those.
Are you?
What I want to
You'd
do.
be great. Great interview right here. I think this is a sign of things to come.
Thank you. What are a few characteristics that you believe are important to have as a teacher?
Great question. I think the most important thing, or one of the most important things, is having a love for learning. You definitely want to have somebody who can inspire that same appreciation and joy for knowledge in their students, and that kind of makes that an infectious environment. I also think it's important to have someone who, is relatable. You want to have someone in the classroom that students can connect with, that students can find interest in, and teachers, I think, that bring that essence to the classroom are very successful. And I think the last thing is just someone who's excited to be a part of the school community, and someone who's willing to get involved in more areas of the school than just the classroom. That's a great way for teachers to build confidence, and a great way for teachers to get involved. Yeah.
And being so involved in the school like that, what are some of your challenges being both a coach and a teacher here?
I think it's more of a blessing than a curse. I think my role as a coach has actually helped me a lot in the classroom, because you get to know so many different kids, right? Not even kids that I've coached, but just kids you see on the athletic fields or, in the courts that we have here. So for that reason, I think it's like helped me a better teacher, just because I get to know kids so well, and that kind of helps me play to their strengths a little better in the classroom. But the hardest part about it is just like the time management. Like, know this, right? Like you go down, and every away game is in Vancouver, right? It's an hour bus ride there, hour bus ride back. It's a long game, and so some nights, you might not get home till like 10:30, right? And like I've still got a lesson to plan or grading to do, and so it just makes for some long nights. But other than that, I think it's a wonderful balance to have. And I look forward to the seasons where I'm coaching more than the seasons where I'm not.
Yeah, the sacrifices are worth it.
That's absolutely true.
And then looking back at the last few years, what are some of the biggest struggles you've had teaching during COVID?
Yeah, that was a really interesting period. I mean, the hardest part for me was just not being around the students. I mean, like, that's why I teach. I teach to be around, this great high school and these great kids here. And so not being around them was like really hard, and not being face to face, having those relationships. And then I think also just like adjusting to like all the new ways of teaching. Like there were a lot of technology tools I'd never used. There were a lot of, just things that we had to adapt to on the fly. It felt like there were changes every week.
Kind of thrown at you.
Yeah, and I know the students felt the same way, and so that was kind of a delicate balance that made it hard. But I definitely feel like a more experienced teacher, and I'm better off for the experiences now that I have went through it.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Mr. Smale. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you, Presley.
Thank you.